What if the person you trusted to guard your heart was the very one who tore it apart? What if the love you thought would last forever was secretly slipping away into the arms of another? This story will pull you deep into the raw pain of betrayal and the haunting silence of a marriage undone. It may even make you question your own choices in love. So let's begin. I never imagined my marriage would end like this. For years, I believed we were building something indestructible. Late night talks that stretched until dawn, shared dreams whispered in the dark, and quiet mornings that felt like promises carved into eternity. But behind that illusion, a storm was waiting, and I didn't see it until it was already too late. It began with small cracks. She grew distant. Her phone was always in her hand, screen tilted away from me. When she smiled, it no longer reached her eyes. I told myself it was stress, work, fatigue, the inevitable wear of life. But deep down, I could feel her pulling away, piece by piece. The truth revealed itself one ordinary evening. She had left her laptop open on the kitchen counter. I didn't go searching. It wasn't suspicion that drove me. It was instinct, a whisper inside me that answers were hidden there. And I was right. Her inbox was a world I wasn't part of. Secret dinners, weekend getaways I never knew about. Words of passion that didn't belong to me. She had been living another life, guided by desires that excluded me entirely. When I confronted her, there were no tears, no denials, just a look, part guilt, part relief, as if finally shedding the weight of her secrets gave her permission to breathe again. She admitted everything, how his arms made her feel alive, how the thrill of secrecy consumed her, how she couldn't stop, even as she watched it destroy us. That's when I realized love alone isn't always enough. Trust, once shattered, cannot be pieced back together. What she did wasn't a single mistake. It was a choice that burned through every vow, every promise, every future we had imagined. Walking away was the hardest thing I've ever done. But staying would have been worse. That night after the confrontation, silence filled our home. Not the silence of peace, but of something broken beyond repair. She sat at the dining table, staring down at her hands. I stood by the window, gathering the strength to speak. Why him? My voice cracked, fragile. Her eyes lifted, heavy with shame but steady. Because he made me feel alive again. He looked at me the way you used to. I didn't plan it, but once it started, I couldn't stop. Her words were daggers. I wanted to rage, to scream, to demand she take them back. But all I felt was numb. Years of devotion undone by moments of passion with someone else. Was it worth it? I whispered. Throwing away everything we built for a handful of stolen nights. Her eyes filled with tears. At the time, yes. Now, no, I hate myself for it. But I can't undo what I've done. That was the final fracture. Regret without redemption. Love without loyalty. The days blurred together after that. Cold exchanges, packed bags, empty rooms. Friends and family tried to understand. But how could they? They saw the wreckage, not the quiet devastation sitting in my chest every time I looked at her. On the morning she left, suitcase in hand, she paused at the door. For a moment, I thought she might beg for another chance. Instead, she whispered, "I'll always love you, just not the way you deserve." And then she was gone. The house felt haunted after that. Echoes of laughter trapped in the walls, photographs staring back like ghosts. One night, I asked the question that had burned inside me since the beginning. Is he worth it? She didn't flinch. She knew who I meant. Her voice was soft, almost tender. He gave me something I thought I'd lost, something I didn't know how to find with you anymore. That answer hurt more than if she had screamed. Something you didn't even try to rebuild with me. I demanded. Her eyes shimmered. She shook her head. I have no excuses. I just let myself fall. The air thickened. My chest tightened. Do you understand what you've done? Every memory, every plan, We are poisoned now. She reached for me through tears. I never stopped loving you. I turned, my voice breaking. If this is love, then I don't want it. The silence that followed was final. Weeks later, the divorce papers were signed. Lawyers divided accounts. Promises were erased in ink and signatures. But the hardest part wasn't legal. It was lying in bed at night, reaching for someone who was no longer there. One evening, while boxing up her things, I found an old photo album. Our honeymoon, birthdays, road trips where laughter seemed endless. I sat on the floor, staring at those frozen smiles. Two people who once believed in forever. That night, I broke down. I sobbed until I couldn't breathe. And yet, when the tears dried, something inside me shifted. She had chosen desire over devotion, but I chose survival over despair. Her forbidden desires destroyed our marriage, but they would not destroy me. The weeks after she left were hollow. Days bled into nights, and nights stretched into endless silence. I moved through the house like a stranger, brushing past furniture that once held memories, hearing echoes of a laughter that no longer belonged to me. But healing doesn't come all at once. It comes in fragments. At first, I filled the emptiness with routine, waking early, going to work, forcing myself to eat, even when the food tasted like nothing. People would ask if I was okay, and I'd give the same rehearsed answer. I'm fine. But inside, I was anything but. One evening, I found myself driving aimlessly, ending up at the small park where she and I once used to sit and watch the sunset. The bench was the same, but everything else had changed. Families laughed nearby. Couples held hands. The world moved on. I sat there alone, wondering if I would ever feel whole again. That's when a thought struck me. She had chosen her path, but I still had mine. So, I began the slow process of reclaiming myself. I reconnected with old friends I had unintentionally pushed away during my marriage. I picked up hobbies I had abandoned, painting, late-night runs, even learning guitar. It wasn't about forgetting her. It was about remembering me. But grief has a way of sneaking back in when you least expect it. One night, months later, I got a message from her. Just a single line. I miss you. My hands trembled as I stared at the screen. Memories flooded back. The good, the bad. All of it tangled in knots I wasn't sure I wanted to unravel again. Part of me longed to reply, to hear her voice, to ask if she regretted everything. But another part of me, the part that had survived the sleepless nights and the aching loneliness, whispered, "Don't go back." So I didn't reply. That silence was my answer, and for the first time in months, I felt a strange sense of peace, not because the pain was gone, but because I finally realized I didn't need her apology to heal. I didn't need her presence to define my worth. I had survived the fire of betrayal, and though it left scars, those scars were proof that I was still standing. Cinematic closing. Sometimes the hardest goodbyes are the ones that save us. Sometimes, walking away isn't the end of love. It's the beginning of freedom. The silence after her message should have been the end of it. But life rarely closes chapters so neatly. Weeks later, I saw her again. Not by choice. It was at a mutual friends gathering. A birthday party I almost skipped, but fate had other plans. The moment she walked in, my chest tightened. She looked different, tired, older somehow, as if the weight of her choices had finally settled on her shoulders. Our eyes met across the room, and for a second, it was as if the world froze. She approached me slowly, almost cautiously, like she wasn't sure I would even let her stand in my presence. "Can we talk?" she whispered. Part of me wanted to walk away, to protect the fragile peace I had fought so hard to build. But another part, the part that still remembered the woman I once loved, nodded. We stepped outside, where the air was cool and the noise of laughter softened behind us. I made a mistake. she said, her voice trembling. I thought I was chasing happiness, but all I found was emptiness. He's gone now, and I want us back. Her words were a dagger, and a temptation all at once. My heart pounded. For years, this was what I thought I wanted. To hear her regret. To hear her ask for another chance. But standing there, I realized something had shifted inside me. I don't hate you, I told her, my voice calm but firm. But I can't go back. The person I was with you died the moment you betrayed me, and I've worked too hard to bring him back to life. Her eyes filled with tears. She reached for my hand, but I stepped back. You chose him once, I continued. And in doing so, you chose to end us. I've accepted that. Now you need to accept it too. For the first time, she broke down. The strong, defiant woman who once looked at me with relief after confessing her affair was now crumbling before me. But instead of feeling pity or longing, I felt clarity. That night, I didn't drive home shattered. I drove home lighter, free, because forgiveness isn't always about giving someone another chance. Sometimes it's about closing the door for good and finally walking through your own cinematic closing. And in that moment, I knew her forbidden desires had destroyed our marriage, but they would never again destroy me. And in that moment, I understood. Sometimes the death of love isn't the end of us. Sometimes it's the beginning of who we were meant to become. If you found yourself in this situation, would you walk away or try to rebuild what's broken? And how did this story make you feel? If this story touched you, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Every comment